The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat 5 segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. I don't want to have to do an intro again, so we're with George Martinez, Skinny George, and Eric Urrea. Hello, guys.
Hello.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. This is the first time, and we both know, or I guess all of us know, how hard it was for me to get on Zoom today. But I haven't been talking to anyone for the podcast because I did the first 2 weeks in December were kind of best of episodes, and then I took 2 weeks off. So I haven't talked to anyone on Zoom in a while, and my computer let me know about that. So, but we're here, we're good. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was kind of in line with that, which is I was getting very burnt out towards the end of the year with a lot of things going on that I'll hopefully be able to talk about in a positive way in a few weeks. But I just realized that I wanted to take a few weeks off, and I had never taken off more than a week of the podcast. And if I did have to take off a week, I would upload a kind of a re-airing of an old episode, because I really do love, and I just love my audience, and I want to make sure that I'm there for them. But the last 2 weeks kind of fell on Christmas Day and then New Year's Eve day. So I was just like, you know what? Let's just take the holidays off because everyone's going to be busy anyways. But I realized how, not that I'm happier not doing the podcast, because that's not the case, but I did take 2 weeks off and it felt really good. And I want to be a little more easy on myself with Burnout. So how do you guys, if you do, kind of gauge burnout and when you need to guilt-free take a step back from the relentless contracted musician work that we all do?
You know, I think the number one thing for me is when I approach anything, whether it's content creating, which is what I do a lot, or even the music stuff, which I also do a lot here at my job and stuff. But I think it's when the initial thought comes into my mind and the next immediate response is like a sigh, that's like a red flag. Because I love music, you know, it's the only thing I've ever been good at, right? Like, it's just literally the reason why I love it so much, and it's changed my life and all of that. And I just, you know, I get so much inspiration from creating this art and all of that, and seeing how it affects other people who play my exercises and all that stuff. I'm just like, wow, it's incredible what I get to do. I get to do this. I know not everybody has the privilege or the talent to be able to do it. And so I should be really grateful for that. And so the moment that I hear about, like, oh, I gotta turn on the lights and start recording, or I've got to go play this gig or whatever, and I go, oh, gosh, okay, I guess here we go. I got to start asking myself some serious questions and really start evaluating, where am I at? Where did that come from? Am I just tired? Did I not sleep enough, or whatever the case may be? Or, like you said, Ben, is it time for a little bit of a break and stop the machine, as we say, you know, because I never want to get to the point where it's more than that sigh, and now I just start getting more bitter and more resentful about, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know what? Forget it, and whatever. I always want to approach it from just the privilege and the honor it is to be able to even do it. So I think that's kind of one of the first things that I do. I check myself the moment that I kind of hear myself, like, and feel this attitude kind of coming on and going like, that's not coming from a healthy place. Let's investigate a little bit. Let's do some dirty work and find out the source of that. So that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I had the privilege of being super exhausted around November of this year, where I was just like, I was gone from basically August to mid-November, and it was a lot. And I had a blast, and some of, like, I hit some massive career milestones, and I'm super thankful for that. But I was just totally wiped. I struggle with the term burnout because it just has so much of a negative connotation. But I mean, I guess it was burnout. But for me, it's like usually my body will tell me that I'm exhausted, and I'll get mysteriously sick out of nowhere, or my wife will tell me I'm exhausted, and she'll let me know that I'm losing it. But no, I these past few weeks / months, I've just like consciously set out to schedule free time. As someone who kind of lives and dies by a calendar, I think scheduling a time to do nothing has been really important. And it's not even like if a friend hits me up and they're like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" It's like, no, I'm doing nothing. You know?
Absolutely not.
I'm not free, even though I'm staying at home and I'm playing video games guilt-free for 4 hours in a row.
Mm-hmm. What does rest look like for you? It's video games.
I go in pretty deep every now and then, every couple months. Yeah,
that's great.
Lots of video games and movies.
I mean, with my ADHD, I've done so much research on it in the last year. And sloth mode, right after like a crazy big, exciting, lots of information, lots of pressure, lots of output, whatever, you need that sloth mode. You need to just shut off. And I still have a hard time guilt-free doing that, because I don't want to speak for you guys, but most musicians are not where we want to be. We always have that goalpost keep moving. And it's so hard for me to figure out at what point, like, it's supposed to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it, And so I always have this back and forth with myself of am I burnt out, or is this just what it is? And you have to, quote unquote, man up. Mm-hmm. And I really struggle with that because I don't know what that means, because I associate success sometimes wrongly, but sometimes not wrongly, with burnout. Most of the people that I look up to, in a way, I see how much they work, and I'm like, dude, I don't work a third of that, but I still get burnt out. And so I try. It wasn't. I didn't ask that because I had an answer and I was going to go in. It's just I really don't know, which is why I was okay with taking these 2 weeks off, because I forced myself to just put a stake in it and just walk away and see how I felt. Because if I don't deliberately do it with 100%. Meaning stop 100%, then I'll never do it, And it was almost like an experiment. Mm-hmm. But does that make sense?
Well, I was actually gonna, I was actually gonna ask you, while you've taken this time off, have you like actively turned down opportunities, or did you just like not seek out things, or was it just kind of like a general like, I'm just gonna kind of turn my phone off,
Yeah, well, it's funny. I told myself I wasn't going to take any gigs, and then I have this Korean artist. His name's James Lee, who randomly a few times has me do these like video recordings for him, and usually they're just play-alongs. Like, I'm not actually recording it. It's just I have to look like I'm playing the song on video. And 2 days after, I was like, I'm taking all of December off. He called me, and it was a good paycheck, and it was for one day, and I was like, sure. And he sent me the 3 songs I had to know, and they were like double bass, like Korean rock, like quantized, and just like so much going on, where every fill's different. And
of course.
And it was just like, it was 2 days of me in the studio just at least getting the fills right. And I was like, why did I do this to myself? So, I mean, granted, I said yes when I thought it was going to be just like ones before, it's just crash ride, halftime in the verse, or a chorus, just look cool. But this one was actually, they wanted to zoom in for the solos and stuff. But anyway, so I did, luckily it was during the holidays, so I wasn't getting a lot of calls. And just in general, the industry kind of shuts down, especially in LA. But yeah, there's this, I'll just say it. I won't say the band name, but there's this band that I've been really wanting to play with for the last few months. And they keep kicking the can down the road, whether they're going to hire me or someone else. But the shows are coming up pretty soon. And I told myself, which is probably associated with my burnout, that I'm just like, what would the drummer, if he had the gig, what would he do? He would be in the studio learning the songs every day. And so to avoid the scary end of December, beginning of January, am I ever going to work again thoughts that every drummer has, I used this as an opportunity to just pretend that I had a really good gig and I had to be in the studio for 5-6 hours a day learning the songs. But so it felt like a job, even though it's not really a gig. But yeah, I did. If anyone would have asked me to do like a last minute thing, I would have said no at the end of December. And even now, right now, I probably would say no, just in the hopes of putting it in the universe that the gig is mine. But it's tough to say no to things because, again, I try to have an abundance mentality, but a lot of times it's a scarcity mentality where, like, if I say no to this, then I'm never going to get, and then that guy's going to be like, oh yeah, Ben said no to that, so we're never going to call him again. And it's just, it's a big loop, and I don't have any of the answers. So if anyone's listening, it never stops. The career never stops making you feel tiny, but it also is the best career in the world. So
when the rubber meets the road, for me, it's like, it's hard to say no. I think it's really easy this time of year for like the touring world to take a step back. And I took advantage of this opportunity to take a step back for a few weeks as well. But yeah, I mean, I did have a couple things come during this time where I was like, this is like way more work than the immediate payoff will be, but it's like a new artist and maybe I can grow with this project. And I, you know, if I, like you said, if I say no, then maybe they won't call me the next time they need something and I'll miss out on the next tour. And that devil's always peeking around the corner. the what if, the FOMO, you know, that's the hardest thing to balance is actually saying no.
Yeah. I would say, Ben, you were asking about kind of like, how does that look practically? Like, okay, so you got all the barometers, you got the red flag come up, you're feeling a certain way. What do you do? Especially if you have a gig. Like, so it's like, what are you going to do? Cancel the gig? And be like, all right, man, no, I'm not feeling myself. So you know what? Take it easy. I'll see you next year. You know, I'm not getting the call back for sure. 100%, you know, but I think it's a couple things. I think number one for me, when I was talking about kind of like assessing myself, not only mentally, but also physically, and like, what have I been eating? You know, like, what have I been putting into my body? Like, all that stuff, like that really messes with me a lot. Yeah, I'm skinny George, but it doesn't mean I'm healthy George. So you got to be careful. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just sit around eating cakes all day, even though the cakes are delicious, you know?
Skinny fat George,
yeah, skinny fat George. Dad bod George, I'll take it, whatever, you know? But my thing is, my wife is like the health police. You know, she's just like, when was the last time you ate something green? I'm like a green Jolly Rancher? What are you talking about? Like, I don't know. I love green things, you know, like lollipops, whatever, you know?
Yeah,
she's like,
rules.
no. So then what I'll probably do is like, you know, maybe I'm still, like, I'm committed to the gig. My yes is a yes. My commitments I really take personally and very responsibly. So I'm going to do the stuff. But now I'm going to be like, all right, let me start shifting a couple of things and seeing how I react. And if I start seeing it getting better and better, I know that some of that had something to do with it. But then once that gig is done, I really got to take a step back for a second and just kind of give myself some actual space before I say yes to the next one. Because if not, if I keep kind of brushing everything under the rug, eventually the big meltdown happens, and nobody needs that, you know. So,
well, do you guys associate success with overwork, or is that something that's maybe a little bit unique to not me as a person, but maybe unique to me in this conversation? Or what do you guys associate success with when it comes to work ethic?
I fall into that same trap. I think success, like, to me, I associate busy with success. And I think what's interesting is I thought a lot after this past, like, you know, I had like 3-4 tours back to back that had me gone for so much of the fall. It had me thinking about like how that year trajectory went. And it's funny because it always starts with the December, January blues. Am I ever going to work again? Mm-hmm. And then I jump at every opportunity in spring, and then that slowly snowballs to fall. And then by the end of the year, I'm like, what did I do? It's weird because it almost feels like maybe if these things were just like spread out evenly throughout the year, it's probably normal. I don't know. I don't know if that really answered your question at all, but
the fact that it's not a definitive answer is still an answer, because it means that we're still all figuring it out, you know? And I didn't expect you guys to have an answer. It was just, I need to step away from thinking that overworking is the only way to success, because I know people that they just have it figured out in a way where their perspective and their abundance mentality shift has allowed them to just, people gravitate towards them because of their whole angle on how success and life balance works, that people want to be a part of that, as opposed to just this overworked person that stretches themselves too thin and then maybe gets success and more gigs in the short term, but then ultimately is setting themselves up for very bad health and mental anguish later on that will make it a net negative in general, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be really careful because I would say that, yeah, I mean, what does success looks like? My calendar full, you know, like looking at, oh, I've got students lined up. I've got this, I've got different brand deals. I've got this. Oh, great. I got a gig over here. Awesome. But like what you were saying, if I start overworking that and kind of stretching a little bit too thin, and then now that starts rubbing off on the way that I respond to people, and I have like a chip on my shoulder and all this stuff. Now it's just like, you know, when my name is in people's mouths somewhere else, it's like, yeah, you know, George is awesome, but I don't know, man, lately it's been kind of weird, you know, and you never want to have those conversations happening behind your back. Mm-hmm. They're going to happen no matter what. But what they're saying, I think, depends on the balance that when we look at the calendar and go, okay, this is a really busy season. So how do I mentally prepare now? Because I know, okay, February is going to be slammed. So I need to really treat myself right, be kind to myself, have patience with myself, but at the same time, treat my body right, get some rest, really say no to those, yeah, oh man, I would love to hang out, but I really got to get to bed because I know that I don't get a really busy February all the time, but I've got one coming up. So I've got to get my body prepped and ready for it. If not, it's just going to hit you like a freight train and you're just going to be in survival mode. And for better or for worse, people will be on the other side of that after dealing with you in that state, you know, so.
If you were to hear someone talk to you about you behind your back in a positive way, what is the one thing that if you heard them say, oh, George is this, or hey, Eric is this, that would be like, that is the go-to thing? Not necessarily about your playing, but what is the thing that you would want them to be like, that was my whole goal. I'm happy that I come across that way.
Eric, you want to go first?
For me, it's always that I want people to be like, he was fun to play with. Whether it's the hang before and after the show, certainly on stage, that's always my ultimate goal, is that I want to make people feel comfortable to be themselves and deliver the best performance that they can. And even beyond that, where you can get outside of yourself and start, you know, goofing off and having a good time. And it's not so like, I gotta hit all these exact notes. And, you know, I just want people to have fun playing with me. I want to give people that freedom and try and feed into that energy that we're enjoying what we're doing.
I love that. What about you, George?
For me, I think the number one thing that I think about is that I hope that when people are talking about me behind my back, that they're describing basically the reverse of what social media is known for. You know, social media is known for just getting, destroyed in the comments, people throwing daggers at you that don't even know you, just whatever, all the stuff. And I hope that every time that people either have a session with me, a gig with me, they have a one-on-one lesson with me, a pad session, whatever, not only do they learn something new, but they also just feel encouraged. Like, man, this guy was such a nice guy. Like, it wasn't about like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm Skinny George, whatever. No, it's like, you're the main character. I'm trying to support you so you can get to your goals. And that's what I hope. I hope that it's just they feel supported. Because so many people, man, you know, they take lessons with different teachers and every teacher has their own thing. I'm not bad-mouthing other teachers, but there's some teachers that just aren't very nice, you know, and they just make kids and other people feel like this is an impossible mountain and I wasn't even supposed to do this. You know, I knew this was a bad idea, forget it. And they just throw in the towel way earlier if they would have just had the right teacher to just encourage them and really like be their cheerleader and all of that. So yeah, I hope they just feel like supported and encouraged, you know, hopefully.
I think the reason why I get so burnt out is because for the most part, I come across as a positive guy. For all the demons I have, I try and portray a sense of positivity and whatever. But I think the thing that I would want them to say most, and I've heard people say that, is that we don't have to worry about Ben. Ben's dependable. He'll figure out the songs. I would rather have them be like, yeah, he can, you know, be sensitive sometimes. But I think when it comes to actual, like, the big gigs, that's what, in my head, is what's going to get me the call. Is like, I don't have to worry about Ben. Not that should be the thing I should want to hear the most, but that is what I want to hear the most. It's just the honest answer.
I super get that. That's my number one pet peeve, is when people make their problems everybody else's problem. Mm-hmm. That sounds really insensitive, but you know what I mean? It's if I forgot my stick bag or something, I'm not going to go up to the MD and be like, hey man, I don't have any sticks for today. I got to figure that out. That's my issue. and it's not up to anybody else to figure that stuff out, you know? So yeah, dependability is everything. I love that one.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire an energy vampire. But also they're a literal vampire. And suddenly my team is spending all their time sharpening wooden stakes and buying bulk silver and rehearsing ancient chants, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant takes insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a short list of the best fits for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Año nuevo, los mismos Extra Value Meals en McDonald's. Ahora te puedes llevar 2 snack wraps y papitas y una bebida mediana por solo $8. Solo por tiempo limitado. Precios y participación pueden variar. Los precios pueden ser más altos en Hawaii, Alaska y California y con entrega.
Where do you think, and I think the reason why I get along with both you guys so well is because you guys have that. I feel like I have that humility around not only, I take my craft really seriously, but I don't take myself very seriously. And I think that's really important. And how do you guys feel that you cultivated that? Because it is unique in a way. Like there's some people I really connect with, like you guys, and some people I don't, even though they're really good. They should have the confidence, and their confidence is how they got there. But there's a little bit of humility that I think should coincide with that it's in balance. So how do you guys, I mean, do you think you're very humble? And if so, how do you think you got that way?
I always go back and forth because to me I cannot take this too seriously, because at the end of the day, I'm hitting a piece of plastic with a drumstick, you know? I'm not like a surgeon. I'm not saving lives. I'm not a firefighter. You know, it's my entire job depends on having fun and people wanting to have fun and me having fun, you know? That's the entire purpose of being a musician or any kind of entertainer. Is this is supposed to be fun. So to me, like, it has to come with the territory that this is a little bit goofy, you know? It's a little bit out there and wild and weird, and which is not to say that like I studied hard and I learned all my rudiments and I got my college degree and it was very serious, but at the same time it's like this is zombie apocalypse happens. I have a really goofy thing that I contribute to society.
Yeah, you were not considered an essential worker during the pandemic.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when you were saying how do you think we cultivated that, at least personally, when I was in the studio working relentless hours, right, for like 15, 16 years, I mean, I would get calls at 10 p.m., at 2 a.m., at whatever time. It's like, hey, I need you here. I'm like, yes, all right, let's go. And I just pick up my drums and drive to the studio and whatever, because the drummer couldn't play to a click or whatever the case may be. And I'd have to save the day, you know, whatever. But I think what helped me to kind of ground myself was, unfortunately, it's just the truth, and I'm sure you guys have dealt with this, is dealing with artists who are not. I've been hired to do some stuff sometimes. I'll never forget, I'm not going to name anybody, pretty big name, but I walked into the studio, they called me, I started setting up my drums, I'm doing all the sound check, whatever. Okay, all right, George, we're almost ready. Hey, come meet this person. All right, cool. I went, hey, how's it going? I'm George, And they're like, who the F are you? And I'm like, I'm George. I got hired to, play drums. He's like, well, not on my record, you're not. Get the heck out of here. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, all right. Hey, so sorry. I'll be out of here in no time. Give me a second. Get my stuff, put it in the car. The producer comes out. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. It's been a nightmare all week. I'm so embarrassed. Hey, I'm like, hey, no worries. I'm sorry. You guys have to deal with that. But hey, good luck. I never want to make someone feel that way. Never, ever, ever, ever. And not saying that I've hit the bullseye every single time either. We all have our bad days where we're frustrated, we're tired, or whatever. But the overall majority is like, hey, George, oh man, George is a good dude. George is a good dude. Not George is like, wow, George is like freaking crazy. Don't talk to that guy or whatever. I've had enough run-ins with those type of situations where I'm just sitting there and I'm taking mental notes. I'm like, George, you see that? Again, I'm a dad. My kids are always watching. My kids are looking, they're taking down every note. They're little sponges. So they see how I respond to bad news, to injuries, to all of it, So...
It's tough because as artists, and despite what many people think, I think drummers are artists. And in order to choose this career, obviously we are very sensitive people because we just receive the world differently, which is why we chose to do this as a career. And so, I don't know, I take rejection really hard. I take not being able to figure out a part really hard. And so I think because I felt those things so incredibly intensely that I never want to make someone feel like that. And when I do, it ruins me for like the rest of the day. If anything, it makes me feel worse than the person who is receiving any sort of lack of humility that I might have. But yeah, just taking self-inventory all the time, I guess, has made me humble. But mostly, it sounds stupid, but growing up in the Warped Tour pop punk scene, it's so, especially with Blink and all those bands, it really is like kind of what Eric said. Our job is not that important when it comes to like to have that much gravity. It's very important to a lot of people, but if you're not having fun and making fart jokes, like what are you doing?
Yeah, 100%.
You know. Well, let's go away from my downer conversations. I did want to, George. You had a few things you wanted to bring up, so I do want to get to actual drumming talk.
Listen, I don't think it's a downer thing. I think it's a real thing, real conversations. So many times we don't get a chance to have these kind of conversations because we're too busy going to the next gig,
Exactly.
Like, we're not going to be in the green room. Like, let me talk to you about something real quick. Like, what? Dude, hold on a second. I got to get on the stage in 5 minutes,
Exactly.
Like, so I really do appreciate whenever you guys get deep in this podcast because I'm listening, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who's received some really good things from it. So
thanks.
I wanted to talk about some nightmare gigs situations. Like you're with a band, you rehearsed everything, you got the Ableton track set up, the clicks or whatever, everybody ready? Yeah, we hit the stage and now it's just a complete disaster for whatever reason. So I don't know if there's something that comes to mind right away. I don't know who wants to go first, if you have anything.
I do, and I don't remember if I talked about this on the podcast before, because maybe I've avoided it because I don't want to talk bad about Roland, who I do endorse, but I'm just going to say it because it's an honest thing, and it's never been recreated. I don't know what happened. I think it had something to do with, well, I'll just lay it out. So with Cannons, I think I've talked about this again on the podcast, where towards the end of Cannons, my tenure with them, I was playing on mesh pads, like the Evans DB1 mesh pads with the RT triggers on those. And so I was recreating every sound in real time, live, but those songs are so specific. The drums create the world of each song in a big way, and they're very different. And so prior to this last little, I guess, setup with the mesh pads, we were doing normal heads with mics plus the RT triggers, and the front of house guy was like, dude, I'm really pushing those triggers, and they're on every drum. And so he's like, we were talking to Butch Vig from Garbage, and he plays an electronic kit, and he encouraged them, whether I'm happy he did or not, he encouraged them, because Michelle is a soft singer, to switch to all electronic drums. And since you can't really tour and fly with the big Roland kit that he uses, we used real shells with those mesh heads. Anyways, it's coming all out, the TM6, which Eric, I know you're familiar with. And so we were playing, this was now it's technically a year and a half ago, 2024 in March, we were playing the Hyde Park Festival. Like, it was Kings of Leon was headlining, and we were like 2 before Kings of Leon. And after the third song, my TM6, it didn't shut down, but this was about 2 weeks after doing like a Europe tour. So we had been to Germany, and there was some kind of voltage thing that shot my mixer, and so I think it maybe affected the TM6. But regardless, in the third song, just my drums were not, there's nothing outputting. And with Cannons, I used real cymbals, which seems counterintuitive. So we're playing, if people don't know, the Hyde Park Festival it's a massive stage, lots of people. And all of a sudden in the song called Bad Dream, which Cannons is very drum heavy, just nothing but cymbals. And it would go in and out, and there was a few songs where it just cut out for the entire second half of the song.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, it turned back on. We unplugged it, and it was very crazy. But after that show, now on Ableton, there is a kick and snare and tom stem that if it does go out, they just unmute that, and then I'll just keep playing, and you'll hear my cymbals, but at least the kick and snare will be there in the track. But we didn't have that show, so tens of thousands of people, and just I'm rocking up there, and it just all the bottom end goes out, and it's just tss, tss, tss.
Oh, gosh.
And I've never been. I mean, I wanted to run off stage, and not out of like sadness, just out of anger, because I spent so much making that show so perfect. I mean, I MD'd the drums and made it this like spaceship of every song sounded so good, and then for that to happen when it's totally outside of my control was just so frustrating, and it was so hard to get back into the vibe once the drums did come back, because then at any second you're like, it could go, so I can't like relax and get into it. Yeah, probably the worst show of my life, just when it comes to the mental anguish I was in during the show.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's my real life
Luckily
nightmare.
the band didn't blame me. They know it wasn't me, and if anything, it was one of the band members' faults that the short circuit of the thing in Germany happened a few weeks earlier, so they were like, oh fuck, was that me? But we had to rush, and we had to call my Roland rep and get a TM6 for the next show, because that wasn't the end of the tour. And yeah, so luckily we were able to go to this really cool Roland shop in London. If anyone's been there, it's really cool. So I got to go play all the kits I wanted to. So it was a net positive, and like I said, now we have the backups for those kick and snares, so if it happens again. But anyways, yeah, stressful day and a half.
Yeah, I have a couple that come to mind. One similar to Ben. A lot of the bands I play for run backing tracks, and I'm usually the backing track nerd. And so for like all of these things, I have all kind of redundant things. You know, if a singer comes in early, I have like shortcuts on how to stop the song mid-set and like line it back up, and it's all good.
Oh, wow.
And I do it from like, I'm like a nerd about it.
No, that's
it's
amazing,
hardcore.
dude. That will be beneficial financially for you later on. I guarantee it in a big way.
I hope
For
so.
sure.
It better start showing up. But I mean, I enjoy doing it, which is part of it, and a lot of it is I need the peace of mind for myself.
Yes.
So I like keep an iPad next to me that I have all these shortcuts, so I can just kind of quickly tap away and hit play and realign everything back up. Mm-hmm. But at this one show, we were playing in London, and it was my first time ever playing in London. And I was like so stoked. I was like, we're in London. The crowd's great. It's going awesome. And then the click starts speeding up in the middle of the song, and just all the tracks just start speeding up, and then it just goes out entirely. And I'm just like,
This is Ableton?
okay, yeah, this is in Ableton. And I'm just like freaking out. You know, I've been doing this for years, so I know like generally if, you know, X happens, it's because of Y. Mm-hmm. I have never had this happen in my entire life. So I was like, okay, I think we're back. And I like realigned where we were in the song and hit play at the chorus. And I was like, okay, we're back in. And then like half a song later, does it again. And it just keeps happening. And I'm just like, what is going on? And I'm like troubleshooting mid-show while trying to play drums and, you know, keep the energy up. Turns out the input jack on the interface was loose, so the connection of the computer and the interface was like faulty, and then it would just like glitch out and speed up. And I was just like, it was a total nightmare. Luckily, I had like a second input and was able to like recover the show. But it was like 2 or 3 songs of just technical nightmare.
Which band was
Do I
this?
follow the click? This was with Makeout, the pop punk band.
Okay.
So like they don't have a bass player, so all their bass stuff is tracked. So it's like kind of noticeable when the tracks drop out.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot of panic. And then similarly, I think my actual gig nightmare story was also with Makeout, and Ben was there. Sold out show, opening up for Bowling for Soup. I won't give the venue name. Maybe I should. I don't know, but I won't for now. But it was. I don't make a habit of bad mouthing venue staff, but they must have had like the D team out or something. It was wild. I've never had this happen in my entire life. The first band goes on, everything's great, but then all of the sound cuts out to the house for their last song. And we're like, okay, that was weird, but whatever. So nobody told this to us, by the way. We get on stage, we set everything up, we're good to go. We're like, thumbs up to the front of house guy. He's just not there. Nobody from the venue told us anything. And I just look over at side stage to see what's like going on with the monitor mixing station. And I just see 2 people at the venue staff just frantically on their hands and knees, like plugging and unplugging wires and just shrugging.
Yeah, I remember you like looked at the crowd and I was sitting there just like, ready to go. Like, you did not look happy. And I was like, oh.
It was the most insane experience of my entire life. We had everything set up and we're just like sitting there on stage in front of a sold out crowd. The house music's on. We're ready to go. Nothing. No communication from the venue at all whatsoever. And we're just like walking off and on stage. Just like, what's going on? What's happening? Nobody's telling us anything. And they took up our entire set time trying to figure out what was going on. And apparently it was just like a bad Cat 5 cable to front of house. But nobody the whole time told us or communicated anything to us. And we're just on stage, just like twiddling our thumbs, being like, what's happening? And then we had to strike our stuff and walk off stage. We didn't get to play at all. Yeah.
But then,
fortunately,
yeah.
The second part is cool. Bowling for Soup, absolute class act. Far and away the best, nicest band I've ever been on tour with. They have a bit where like they invite the opening bands to like participate in their set. So like they have a bit where we would come on and finish one of their songs. We did it every night on the tour. But then after that, they were like, hey, do you want to play one of your songs? So they just like let us.
Oh, that's great.
Play one of our songs in the middle of their set, which was awesome. They're class act dudes. But yeah, I'll never forget just standing on stage in front of a sold out crowd, just twiddling my thumbs, being like, I don't know what's going on.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's crazy.
It was cool seeing you play those songs though on the dude's kit, because then I got to go side stage and watch bowling with you, and it was an overall fun night, I think. And I think like when you guys finally got to play a song, the audience was like so on your side, and yeah, so it was a net, probably not net and positive for you guys, but it was a net zero.
Well, you know what it is funny about these situations, and I had a discussion with somebody about this recently. These things are going to happen, and in the kind of spirit of us being humble people about it and kind of like letting these situations roll off our shoulders and just kind of bringing that Labrador Retriever energy, the crowd is always on your side, even when like these horrible situations happen and you're on stage and you're just like, I'm an idiot, everything sucks, this is the worst. The audience is usually going to root for you, especially in like if you recover with grace and with humility. That's been my experience like 99% of the time.
Yep.
What about you, George?
Man, I've had such a almost exact like Ableton speeding up. So
really?
Yeah, so I do a lot of the programming and stuff here at the church that I work at, and we have 3 different bands that play at different days of the week and all of that. And on Sunday we have like 3 or 4 services back to back. So I will never forget. I was not singing or playing guitar or whatever. Yes, I do that. I don't know. I almost never drum, which is crazy. But I give everybody
know that.
I didn't know that either. Whoa.
So I'm usually singing and playing. Yeah, that's what I do. But every single drummer takes lessons from me, so I'm like, you're not getting in the way of anything. It's like, hey, by the way, second measure of the third verse and the 4. Come on, man. They're like, how did you hear that? I'm like, anyway.
Yeah, Paul from Cannons, he plays bass, and he's right in front of me, and he's a great drummer too. And every time I do something, it's just that little look of interesting choice. All right, let's keep going.
We're setting things up, and like we don't have all the team to like troubleshoot right on the spot. I mean, it's just a local church or whatever. But there was a time where we were playing this song. I wasn't leading. I was off the stage watching some of the younger guys sing and all that stuff. And they're singing this song, and Ableton starts speeding up, and I can tell because they're just following along. And it's like this gradual speed up. Then not only did it keep speeding up, but then it started looping the same section over and over again. And here's the thing: we use Ableton to trigger all the slides, all the lyrics in the back screen and the confidence monitors and all that stuff. And a poor kid, he just kept on repeating the same line over and over and over. No. So I run on stage. I'm trying to get them back on, and I finally get them off the cue. I end up having to play keys the rest of the set because I was paranoid that Ableton was going to I don't know how to play keys. So I'm just like, yeah, like, woo. It was terrible. But like, we've had all types of stuff like that. One of the other ones that I remember a lot, where it did involve me drumming. I used to play for this girl named Rachel Goodrich, I think she's now out in LA, but she used to be here in Miami. I recorded and produced 2 of her records, which is a whole other thing. And so I got a chance to go on tour with her and all of that. Well, we weren't playing. We were watching an acoustic show. And it was just a night hanging out, whatever. And then someone noticed that she was in the crowd. She's like, "Oh man, Rach, you got to get up here, play a couple songs, play a whole set." You know, she's like, "Oh, what?" And she's very free spirited. You know, she's like, "Yeah, man, whatever, let's do it. All right." So she jumps on, she starts playing the song. She's like, "Nah, you know, my drummer's here. Hey, George, get up on stage and play drums." I'm like, "With what?" Like, there's no, and it was an acoustic set. There was no drums anywhere. So I'm like, "What do I do?" And then she's like, "Listen, man, just grab that suitcase, man. I'm sure you can figure it out." Guys, I grab a suitcase. I get on stage. They put a Beta 52 on the back of that suitcase, and I'm going full blown cajon on a suitcase for like 5 songs. Like, and we didn't even rehearse. Like, I'm like, anyway. Apparently, we killed it. But I was having a nervous breakdown every 5 seconds because I'm just like, dude, like, what am I doing right now? This is not it, you know. And so. Anyway, there's been all types of stuff in the studio. There's been stuff where like power outages in the middle of a thing. I mean, like all types of just nightmare situations. But you know, you're right, Eric. It's all about how you respond to them for sure.
What was the other question you wanted to ask? Because I actually do have an answer for it.
Ah, yes, of course. How can I forget?
Yes.
Worst versus best click sound to record to or play in your ears or whatnot. So I'm very curious to see what you guys decide.
The one that is the hardest for me is just that high frequency. It's like a dog whistle, dog whistle, dog whistle, dog whistle, dog whistle with the slightest bit of attack. I can't stand that because it's so. I mean, the only thing sometimes if I'm doing a lot of cymbals in a song, it really cuts through. That's nice. But for me, it's just the cowbell. And I actually, if I'm in charge of the session, I don't ask it if I'm in a session where, you know, there's a producer and an engineer, but I actually got this from Randy Cook where he likes to put a shaker. If it's in straight time, he likes to put a shaker on 16th note subdivisions because then there's no guessing. It's just, you always feel, you know, even when you're playing a groove of 8th notes and if there's you just feel, you don't have to put in all the extra ghost notes to make it feel good. You just play what needs to be there. And then later on, if you want to add some overdubs for actual subdivisions that are going to be in the track, because usually I don't assume that shaker is going to be in the track when I'm recording to it. So that's my favorite, cowbell with or shaker, tambourine, just some sort of, it gives me every option, so there's no guessing.
And you're talking about like the Pro Tools cowbell?
I usually record my drums into Logic. I edit the podcast and I do certain things in Pro Tools, but when it comes to recording myself, it's usually Logic.
Is it Logic that has that stock click sound that's just like the little tiny blip thing?
That's what I'm talking about. Maybe that's it. Where it's almost no attack. Like, it's just presence.
It's like you can feel it more than you can hear it kind of thing. I get why it's probably super useful when you're building out a track because it just kind of disappears into a mix. But man, I cannot record to that click sound. Instantly, if I hear that click sound, I'm like, change it.
I use the metronome app too. And the thing I guess the thing I hate the most is whenever I'm with my students, I call it grandma. But it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's this high pitched, just like monotone thing. And some students love it because they don't have to count, and I'm like, nah, you're getting away with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is grandma's the worst.
I used to use this app Tempo on my phone, which was like the first app that I ever like used on stage for a metronome. And I found a very like specific. I've always gravitated towards click sounds that are like more on the organic side. It helps me feel like I'm playing to a percussionist and it feels less robotic that way. So I kind of like the shaker thing, actually. There's like a woodblock sound on that Tempo app that I just like loved. And when I switched to Ableton and like more advanced setups, I built my own MIDI click and imported that sample. And I use it religiously for everything that I do. It's my favorite click sound. I have it saved as the almighty click in my sample library.
Man, you guys nailed it. I have a list in front of my face right now of like the worst, at least to me, and like my favorite. Number 1 is Dr. Beat Lady. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, I mean,
grandma,
just like
essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love, especially like on my Dr. Beat actual metronome, when you do something like in 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like it's ridiculous. Like, who in the world can possibly play to that? I don't know. But she was number 1 for me. Number 2 was the Logic bleep, like bleep, whatever it is, like you can't hear it. Like it's like this most random sound. And number 3 was a Pro Tools cowbell, which is like this, like, I don't even know if you can call it a cowbell. It's like the stock sound in Pro Tools. You can't hear it. Like, you just can't. It's almost like on the other side, it's too percussive.
Sure.
Where it doesn't even have any kind of like tone or anything. So it's just like this kind of like, is that like a glitch? Did someone unplug a cable? And that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, sometimes there's like, if you're like, one of the ones that I'm thinking of is if you're playing MIDI and there's nothing on that track or no, drum simulator, it's that like, it's just a signal noise.
Oh gosh.
Where that's the click that I've heard before that I'm like, why is this? I know sometimes for singers and stuff, they need something that has no tone to it. And the things that I like, the boop, like the actual cowbell has a note. And so I can see that be distracting. And I've never been in a band where the MD makes the metronome the note of the song. I know sometimes in like EDM music, you tune the kick drum to the song.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that. But for me, like I'm with Eric, wood block. If I can get something to subdivide in between, even better for sure. Ableton Live's default, I mean, it's not bad, but it works better than 1, 2, 3. Anything is better than the grand mal. But here's a random question. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially the old school cats, that come on my my channel and they start just telling me that I'm terrible and I'm wrong and I should burn my drumsticks and whatever. A lot of times people, especially again teachers, they'll be like, oh, you need to put the click at 60 and play perfectly in time, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. There's something about doubling up the click and me making sure that I'm comfortable playing with the subdivisions in there. That's going to give you a better take without spending more money, because it's not going to take me longer to do the take. Yeah, I understand the idea of like, oh, you've got to have really good internal time between those big spaces. But someone's paying for every minute that I make that mistake.
Yeah, you don't get bonus points for making it harder, right?
Yeah. This is a random thing, but I was talking to another drummer about it the other day, where one of my students' husbands came to a show and pointed this out to me. But do you guys, when you're playing a kick drum, say you're doing something on the ride cymbal and your hi-hat is just your foot is the only thing making the noise, do you have a chatter back and forth with your kick drum and your hi-hat that's kind of like, instead of just quarter notes on the hi-hat? It's one of the first times I really didn't realize I was doing something until someone pointed it out. But like if I'm going boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, my hi-hat's going boom, cat, cat, boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, boom, cat, cat, boom, cat, boom, boom. And it's not even like, it sounds like it's difficult. Like me explaining it is like, well, it's like some weird exercise, but it's almost like it keeps me in time from what the bass drum's not doing.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I'm playing hi-hat stuff, not even ride stuff mainly, but sometimes even when I'm playing like a closed hi-hat beat, but it's like a funky kind of, ghost notey thing.
Yeah.
I don't even realize that I'm doing this, but it'll start open. I'm talking about the most slight open in between some of the notes, not trying to make a chick, you know what I mean? Like make it part of the beat, like a Mike Johnson type of thing,
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing and my leg is just shaking. And eventually it just starts kind of randomly opening in random spots. And it seems like, oh, that's so tasteful. I'm like, no, it's just a nervous twitch. I have no idea that I'm doing it.
My hi-hat doesn't know it's about to get burnt out. My hi-hat needs to take 2 weeks off.
That's an interesting. My teacher after college. Oh, you interviewed Earl Talbot, right?
I love Earl. I actually want him to come on one of these. We were talking about that.
Dude, he's one of my favorite people. But he really ingrained in me to like stomp my heel on quarter notes when I was playing a groove, and that kind of shock wave that goes up your entire body will like help keep you in time. So I picked that up from him. So to kind of answer your question, I don't do it with my left foot, but I do notice that I will like conduct a little bit. Like if I have like a really slow and I have to do like quarter notes on the hi-hat, I will like do a really weird like conducting motion with my right hand that kind of like falls into the groove. I can't just like rigid up and down. I don't know what it is, but I need to like fill the physical space with some kind of motion to keep me in time.
I get it, man.
First of all, Ben, I think that it is actually super cool, and it is part of your voice, because you're not even thinking about it. That's how you know it's not like you're not intentionally like, hey, watch this. You know what I mean? And I think that's a good thing about documenting yourself when you can document yourself. Like you're going like, what was that? that was cool. And you can actually stop and go back and go, even if I tried, I don't think I can actually do that, you know? But that's in the positive note. The bad side of things that when you're not thinking about that you're doing, I had to learn this really quick. The first couple of recording gigs that I had, again, this guy, Jimmy Douglas, big time mixing engineer, did not want to waste his time. I get in there and he's just like, George, hey, the drums sound great, man. You're doing a really good job. It, you know, feels great. You learned the song, all that, but I need you to come in for a second. I'm like, okay. So I come in. It's never good when it's like, oh, are we done? He's like, no, we're not done. I need you to hear something. I'm like, oh, okay. He presses play and I'm listening to it and I'm like, yeah, sounds pretty good. You know, not, you know, trying to stay humble, but I'm like, good, yeah, sounds pretty good, you know? Then he solos the overheads and you hear me.
Dude, I do that too.
No
For me,
way.
it's a low hum. I go,
It's yes, and I'm like,
Dude.
and it's just like, I'm like, so I tell him like, what is that? He's like, that's you.
Elvin did that a lot, by the way.
Yeah, and I was
way.
like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, dude. I swear, I did not even know that I was doing that. He's like, well, is there a way you can not do that? I'm like, I will try. And man, once in the blue moon, when I do get to play drums here at the church, I'll get off stage and I'm like, oh, I was doing it. I'm like, oh man, you know. But like, I get
a drummer pacifier, just something you stick in there that just you can't. I would use it. All right, well, that's a good place to end it, guys. So yeah, just email me if you could your voices.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again, man. Thanks again for the opportunity. This is always so much fun, man.
It gives me energy talking to you guys. So I really appreciate it. Needed it after the holidays. So cheers, guys.
Later, man.
See you guys.
And that's the show. If you're listening on a platform that allows ratings and reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, so it'll get bigger and better, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'll be an OG listener that can brag to all your friends. Anyways, why don't you go and check us out at bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on all the socials. Just search for Big Fat Snare Drum and you will find us. The show is edited in part using iZotope RX Audio Editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at iZotope.com. And thanks again to Gunnar Olsen for the theme music. Bye.